What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for September the 11th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry, hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week. It is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know. So if you enjoy the show and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But another week has come and gone with no PlayStation 5 news. However, that could be coming to an end next week at PAX Online, or perhaps even sooner. As spotted by Push Square, Sony has a placeholder event scheduled to take place next week at PAX Online, but the details of the panel are still hidden right now. The event is set to occur on Friday, September the 18th at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is currently only being referred to as a Sony holder event. Obviously, the fact that Sony is clearly keeping something under wraps here would make it easy to think that this mystery panel could be related to the PlayStation 5. With that being said, whatever this panel might be, almost certainly won't be where the PlayStation 5's price or release date itself will be unveiled. Why is that, you might ask? Well, the date and time in which this panel is taking place would make such a landmark announcement incredibly bizarre. Almost no major company in the world opts to do anything drastic on Friday afternoons right before the weekend arrives. Still, with this in mind, perhaps this showing could be a sort of supplemental event for Sony that is meant to talk more about the PlayStation 5 in the aftermath of a reveal that could be made in relation to the next-gen console in the coming days. For that reason, maybe this is why the extended details of the panel itself have not been given just yet. Regardless, whatever might be in store for this PAX Online showing, we surely should be hearing more from Sony soon regarding the PlayStation 5, especially now that Microsoft has shown its hand with the Xbox Series X. While I don't have any insider information, the author says at DualShockers, next week feels like it could finally be the week in which the levy of withheld PlayStation 5 information finally breaks. It's about time. Next week is going to be the week, and I want to bring this story up now to let you all know that I will not be shooting any shows next week. I'm going out of town, I won't have access to my equipment, and I'm taking some time away from the stressful world that is 2020. That being said, I am taking my microphone with me, and if any big news does break, I will be sure to make a video talking about the price point and how I feel about it, which I still think it's going to be right around $599. With that being said, this event at PAX Online is probably going to be a post-mortem after the announcement, talking about what is in the box, talking about the launch games, perhaps testing some performance. That is the kind of thing that I expect this panel to be. It's late in the day, but still 6:45 p.m. my time in the Eastern time zone is still 3:45 p.m. in the Western time zones, so therefore you do have a lot of time to play with, and it does make sense to host some kind of event after you have an announcement as major as that of the PlayStation 5 release date and price point. But if we are placing final bets, again, I do believe it's going to be $599, and I do think it is probably going to launch on November the 17th. But the box art has been revealed, of course, for the PlayStation 5. We saw that a couple of months back, but now we have a new image of the PlayStation 5 Upgrade branding. The box for Ubisoft's Immortals Fenyx Rising was published on Thursday and offers the first look at the PS5 Upgrade Available badge. For PlayStation 5, Sony Interactive Entertainment previously indicated it was not promoting a unified free cross-generation upgrade program like Xbox's Smart Delivery. Instead, Sony had seemingly left such upgrade programs to the discretion of third-party publishers, with many titles including Marvel's Avengers, Cyberpunk 2077, and Destiny 2 choosing to offer pathways to their PlayStation 5 versions at no additional cost. Although Sony will reportedly not be actively promoting a cross-gen program, its stance on third-party developers is not unlike Xbox's, which allows studios to decide for themselves whether to support Smart Delivery or not. Some companies such as Electronic Arts are running their own upgrade initiatives. Current-gen owners of games such as FIFA 21 and Madden 21 will be able to upgrade to PlayStation 5 via its dual entitlement scheme. And while it is not yet clear if Sony intends to offer free cross-gen upgrades for its own first-party titles, the platform holder is yet to announce any games planned for both PS4 and PS5. Microsoft's Smart Delivery is an initiative which means players only have to purchase a title once in order to play the best available version for whichever Xbox console they choose to play on. This is separate from Xbox Series X backwards compatibility, which will run legacy games at current gen or increased performance levels. And so there is the image itself, PlayStation 5 Upgrade Available. Ultimately, I would prefer the optimized for Xbox Series X sticker that we have all been memeing for the past few months, but it is nice to see it visible on a box that you can get a better version of the game. But moving on to Xbox news coming out today, Xbox Series X and S will both support Dolby Vision HDR for gaming, and they'll be the first consoles to fully support the tech. Dolby has announced that the upcoming Xbox Series S and X will be the first consoles with Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision HDR gaming support. Dolby Atmos 3D sound will be enabled at launch, while Dolby Vision HDR gaming is set to arrive in 2021. With Dolby Vision, the company is promising 40 times brighter highlights, 10 times deeper black levels, and up to 10 bits of color depth. That will vary widely depending on your TV or monitor, however, as most displays only support 10 bits of color depth, and few even come close to Dolby Vision's maximum brightness levels. Dolby Atmos is more of a known quantity and is already available in some games. It could improve your gaming in theory, as it places each sound in three-dimensional space so you can pinpoint its location in the game, according to Dolby. While current Xbox One models support Dolby Atmos and Vision already, that only works with Netflix and other streaming media, not games. With the Series X and S, however, both Dolby Vision and Atmos will work with streaming media and supported games. The Xbox One X technically supported Dolby Vision for gaming, but the feature never got out of Microsoft's insider testing phase. You can currently play several games on PC using Dolby Vision HDR, like Battlefield 1, but there has never been full console support until now. Dolby Vision generally offers a better HDR experience than regular HDR10, and it uses dynamic metadata that is encoded into scenes ahead of time. That lets creators make the most of the extra brightness and color accuracy that HDR offers over regular SDR. The disadvantage of Dolby Vision is that creators and hardware manufacturers have to pay a license fee. Sony has yet to announce any PlayStation 5 gaming support for either Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision. In any case, since Dolby Vision has only ever appeared in testing in a few PC games, it's not at all clear how much it will improve the gaming experience. In theory, however, it should offer more benefits than 4K by making games significantly brighter and more colorful. This is a cool feature, but only if developers adopt it. Again, that licensing fee, depending on how much that is, could be a big turnoff for a lot of people that are out there creating games. It's not something that is automatically applied to everything you are experiencing on the platform. It seems like it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. However, if Microsoft foots the bill, then a lot of these big Xbox Game Studios games could be popping in a big way on one of the most powerful gaming consoles in history, and that's something that gets me very excited because as somebody who has a 4K television, I do consider getting an Xbox Series X, even though I am planning on doing most of my gaming on PC because of the living room style experience that you can get at such a high fidelity. That's something that gets me very excited. I think that the big standout feature here is actually Dolby Atmos, the 3D surround sound. That is going to be something that, again, if applied to a game like Halo Infinite, completely changes the game when it comes to how you listen to the game and how you can pinpoint enemies in a thing like multiplayer or perhaps even in a campaign. So we will see what the support for this feature is like, but it is putting it out there ahead of the PlayStation 5 in terms of visual fidelity. Now, it is worth mentioning, Sony is experimenting with their own proprietary experience. They have new technology. They are developing their own way of doing things. Xbox is partnering with Dolby. It's two different approaches, but ultimately, I think the experience is probably going to be similar no matter what console you end up going with. But an update has come out early this morning that the Xbox Series S, the smaller and cheaper next-gen Xbox, will not run Xbox One X games, or at least versions of backward-compatible games. But you still get a good bit of benefit. Microsoft's lower-end next-gen console, Xbox Series S, will not run Xbox One X versions of backwards-compatible games, the company has confirmed to VGC. The console will instead run Xbox One S versions of Xbox One and Xbox 360 titles, with some of its own enhancements including auto HDR and more consistent frame rates. Quote, Xbox Series S was designed to be the most affordable next-generation console and play next-generation games at 1440p at 60 FPS, a Microsoft spokesperson told VGC. To deliver the highest quality backwards compatible experience consistent with developers' original intent, the Xbox Series S runs the Xbox One S version of backward compatible games while applying improved texture filtering, higher and more consistent frame rates, faster load times, and auto HDR. As Microsoft's most powerful current-gen console, Xbox One X is able to run games with specific enhancements which leverage its additional power over the base Xbox One S. One X games can run higher resolutions up to 4K with improved texture filtering and expanded color detail. The console offers similar enhancements when running compatible Xbox 360 games. However, as first reported by Digital Foundry, because the upcoming Xbox Series S has less RAM than Xbox One X, 10GB versus 12GB, it was almost a foregone conclusion that its backwards compatible games would be drawing upon less power than the Xbox One X, and instead going with the Xbox One S version. Quote, I think this is something that maybe had not been considered by some folks, Digital Foundry's John Linneman said. If you're playing an Xbox One game on Series S, it is not going to be the Xbox One X version of the game. You are not going to get the 360 4K backwards compatibility or things like that. Digital Foundry editor Richard Ledbetter added, I'm not sure that's been officially confirmed, but basically if you think it through rationally, there is no way it can be done. The Xbox One X had 9GB of system memory available to titles, the Series S has 8, and I've seen some reports that it's actually 7.5. Regardless, with either configuration, it is still lower than the Xbox One X, so I think it's almost a foregone conclusion that the backwards compatibility will be drawing upon Xbox One S as opposed to Xbox One X. However, Linneman noted that the games running in Xbox One S mode should still perform better on the Series S thanks to its improved performance over the low-end current-gen machine. Of course, the $300 Xbox Series S was revealed earlier this week, targeting a 1440p resolution and up to 120 FPS, along with 4K upscaling for certain content. And so this is something that is getting into the weeds a bit, but I do understand the significance of it. However, I don't know that the impact is going to be that big of a deal because, again, the Xbox One X was one of the world's first flagship home gaming consoles that supported 4K right off the bat. It was going head-to-head with the PlayStation 4 Pro, which itself does do a good bit of resolution improvement by up-rendering, essentially running games at a lower resolution, stretching them, doing a couple of things behind the scenes to make them work. With the Xbox Series S, it is targeting a lower resolution, so therefore you have more to do internally. You have more power to play with because you're not targeting the higher resolutions. Now, that is not to say to expect the performance of an Xbox One X, but in some cases it is going to be inseparable. It is going to be a thing where you cannot even tell the difference depending on the screen you're playing on. Now, if this is going to go the way that I personally think it is going to go, this is going to be the Xbox console for people that have a regular average HD TV. This is not for those that have home theater systems. This is not for those that have the latest and greatest 4K technology. This is for the 13-year-old that has a TV in his bedroom that might be 1080p. This is for the daily gamer that comes home and plays 2 rounds of Warzone and then goes to bed, or that goes out to eat, whatever they might do. You understand what I'm saying. This is more of a casual console as compared to the high quality, high resolution, high frame rate experience you get on the Xbox Series X. That's not to say that one is better than the other. They have multiple options for you to match with your play style and your lifestyle. And so it makes sense that the One X versions of backwards compatible games will not run, but I don't think many people really expected that to begin with. And out of all of the next-gen consoles, the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Series S or the PlayStation 5, personally, I think the biggest deal and the biggest blowout of this entire setup so far is probably the Xbox Series X. And of course, if you want to hear me gush more about that, you can check out, I believe, Wednesday's edition of the show to learn more about everything we found in the big reveal. Now, speaking of the big reveal, it happened earlier than you might have expected because Microsoft hid the Xbox Series S in plain sight and nobody noticed. The Xbox Series S might have leaked earlier this week before being officially unveiled, but Microsoft was hiding it in plain sight months ago. Xbox chief Phil Spencer appeared in multiple interviews in July ahead of Microsoft's Xbox Game Showcase, and he hid an Xbox Series S on the shelves behind him. The official Xbox account revealed the elaborate prank today, and Spencer added that the Xbox Series S appeared in at least 3 YouTube video interviews during July. While it might sound surprising for an unannounced console to be hidden in videos, Microsoft has a habit of hiding secrets and codes as teasers ahead of its console announcements. Of course, Microsoft teased its Xbox One X console with a bunch of videos that hinted at its 6 teraflops of GPU performance ahead of E3 2017. The company also teased the Xbox Series X under the codename Scarlet in E3 teasers last year. And so this is one of those little pieces of gaming history that I truly love. To know that we had been looking at this new piece of hardware since July is something that just cracks me up. Just to know that I watched interviews with Phil Spencer that featured Phil Spencer, and they were sitting right here on him in his bookshelf the entire time and nobody said anything is something that I think is pretty hilarious. Of course, at a glance, this looks like a speaker. This looks like it could be even some kind of bookend. You never know what this is going to be, but I do love this kind of marketing, and it's cool to see that it never made its way out, and it still remained hidden until the Xbox account decided to take advantage of it, and in the process gained a lot of retweets and engagements there on the social media. Now, let's follow up with a story that's not quite so happy. 505 Games accidentally provides the free upgrade for Control Ultimate Edition before withdrawing it. A lack of control around the whole situation, you might say. 505 Games recently doubled down on its reasoning for not providing a free Xbox Series X or PS5 upgrade to Control to anyone who had already purchased the game. The company also insisted there was simply no way an upgrade could be offered at all, and that the different blockers were encountered when exploring possible options. Confusing this situation, one Twitter user found his version of the game upgraded at no cost. He is far from the only one. As per the thread on Reset Era, many different players who own Control Deluxe Edition on PS4 found themselves upgraded to the Control Ultimate Edition, something that 505 Games previously insisted was not possible. This did not last long and the upgrade was quickly revoked. Hopefully 505 Games can offer clarity on why this is not officially possible and happened by accident. At this point, it seems increasingly and incredibly unlikely 505 Games is actually restricted from providing players an upgrade. The AWE expansion for Control recently released and is included in Control Ultimate Edition, and of course they talk more about their reception over there at Windows Central, but this is ridiculous. And again, as somebody who owned Control on the Xbox One, it would be nice to get a free upgrade. Now, I said before, I understand why giving a free upgrade is not always possible because, again, there are cost to upgrading a piece of hardware, there are costs to upgrading a piece of software. And so sometimes the gamers have to foot the bill if you do want that new experience. But to say that there is no way to upgrade, to blatantly lie to people, is something that I don't think is probably the best route to go, and that seems to be what 505 Games did. And so right now, again, there is no explanation that has been given, but to accidentally get upgraded for free after it was told that it was impossible to do so, that's a bad look for the people at 505 Games. However, you can of course play Control in just a couple of months, but Kena Bridge of Spirits has been delayed by a good bit more to Q1 2021. Kena Bridge of Spirits, the third-person action-adventure from developer Ember Labs, has been delayed to Q1 2021, with the studio behind Kena announcing the news on Twitter, noting the move was from working from home due to COVID-19 has, quote, caused development to move slower than we hoped. The studio's full statement reads, quote, the Ember Lab team is overwhelmed and humbled by the positive response and outpouring of support for Kena Bridge of Spirits. Your kind words and excitement for the game have been an inspiration to the team. This year has brought many challenges, and our transition to working from home has caused development to move slower than we hoped. For this reason, we have made the difficult decision to delay the release of Kena Bridge of Spirits to Q1 2021. We have not made this decision lightly, but feel it is best for the game and well-being of the team. We will use this time to give the game the polish it deserves and deliver an experience that meets our vision and your expectations. We look forward to sharing more about Kena in the coming months and delivering an amazing experience early next year. Kena is still set for release on PS5, PS4, and PC via the Epic Games Store, and of course they talked more about Kena Bridge of Spirits a couple of weeks ago. The PlayStation 5 launch lineup continues to get slimmer and slimmer. Now with that being said, again, as much time as any game development studio needs to get the project finished in its best possible polished way, then sure, that's perfectly fine. On top of that, they did a good job of setting expectations. I didn't know there was any kind of release date or time frame even mentioned for this, and to hear that it was pushed back to Q1 2021 was kind of me asking, I thought it was already releasing then, so not a big deal. But the PlayStation 5 launch lineup is thin. Now that's not to say the Series X and S is not, but ultimately both of these consoles are hinging on number one, free upgrades from the current generation hardware, and number two, third-party games that are coming out this year. Specifically one that comes to mind is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Ubisoft is really carrying this new launch lineup because of games like Rainbow Six Siege getting free upgrades, etc. And so existing libraries and then games like Cyberpunk 2077 that will either be getting free upgrades or have backwards compatibility, those are going to be big when it comes to what people are playing on the PlayStation 5 and even the Xbox Series X and S this holiday season. So if you've been looking forward to Kena Bridge of Spirits, I am sorry to announce it has been delayed to Q1 2021, but it will probably be a better game because of it. And finally, to round out today's show, a story that broke yesterday but we didn't quite have time to talk about on the show. Skull and Bones has grown in scope and won't be featured in the Ubisoft Forward. Of course, we talked all about the Ubisoft Forward that was revealed yesterday, if you do want to go back and hit the highlights. Ubisoft's upcoming pirate ship game, Skull and Bones, has not been seen in some time, and today the company issued an update on the game's development. Elizabeth Pellin, creative director on Skull and Bones, joined the team about 2 years ago. She writes that we dreamt something bigger for Skull and Bones, and these ambitions naturally became bigger challenges. Pellin further explained that Skull and Bones' scope has grown and that the game needed delays as a result. Pellin says that Skull and Bones will be shown off in a comeback sometime in 2021. As a result, it won't be featured in today's or yesterday's Ubisoft Forward showcase, but Skull and Bones is being developed primarily by Ubisoft Singapore with support from the Berlin, Chengdu, Kiev, Paris, and Philippines studios. That is so many people working on this game that no one's seen in years. Right now, Skull and Bones does not have a release window. Beyond the confirmation, it won't be released before March of 2021. Ubisoft has experienced a wave of abuse and harassment allegations towards several executives and senior developers, including the former director of Skull and Bones. The editorial vice president of Ubisoft has been fired following investigations, and several others have departed. Skull and Bones is currently confirmed to be releasing on the Xbox One, PC, and PS4, but given the many delays, it will presumably feature support for Xbox Series X, Series S, and the PlayStation 5. I've been waiting on this game for a long time, and for those that don't know what Skull and Bones is, it's essentially the pirate ship portion of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but that is its own game. And that is something that I look forward to, but at the same time, I am tempering my expectations because of the amount of delays the game has faced. That's not to say the game is going to be bad, I'm just letting you know not to look forward anytime soon. But I am sure that the drama behind the scenes combined with this development hell that the game seems to be stuck in is probably holding it back a good bit, so look for that one later in 2021, at least in terms of getting more news from it. But that rounds out this week's episode of the Jampack Report. I do want to again remind you, if you made it all the way to the end, next week there's going to be a bit of a hiatus. I will have at least one episode of the drop. On top of that, there is probably going to be a video talking about the PlayStation 5 price tag, but that is going to be the content for the week. Your boy needs a break. What can I say? First time going out of town in a very long time because I'm here making content for you guys, going to work and doing all kinds of other things. But I appreciate your support over the past few years. Specifically this year has been phenomenal with the pandemic and all. It really does touch my heart to see so many people enjoying the show on a daily basis. But until next week, you guys have a fantastic weekend. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.